Hi, a couple of months ago I drove the Kia e-Niro from Warsaw in central Poland to a ski resort of Zakopane, more than 400 kilometers away. I decided I wanted to drive there without charging on the way. I achieved that goal and had some range left. Watch this review by clicking the link in the upper right corner of the screen or in the description below. However, some viewers pointed out I was driving too slow because I was often below the legal speed limit. I don't see anything wrong driving 110 on 120, but the viewers know best, so this time I decided to drive with maximum legal speed. Hyundai Kona Electric has the same drivetrain as the Kia e-Niro and e-Soul, so the results should be comparable. Let's see how I got on. Okay, so my plan was to start the Kona EV or Electro if you're in Germany review here by the charging station. I wanted to charge the car so we have 100% so that there is no cheating whatsoever. However, when we arrived, typically this should work, this doesn't work, it's out of order and there is no additional information. We tried calling ABB, but there is no one answering the phone because it's Saturday, so why would they? However, we have still about 94% battery left, so I think we'll just go with whatever we have. So while I'm waiting here and not charging because the charger is broken, I'll show you what the charging port looks like, because I've had some questions about that in the comments. So this is a CCS port, CCS as in combined charging system. Combined because there are actually two options here. So this is for the Type 2 charger, and this would typically take about 7 to 10 hours to charge a car like this. And then when you open this flap, there is the whole combined business. You put in a bigger plug and then you charge to 80% in about half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on the car. And yes, someone told me that these flaps look quite cheap, which they do. I've seen the new ones on the Honda E and that looks money. There are proper flaps like that, it doesn't look so cheap. So that's what this is. Oh, and by the way, if you take your 230 volt plug at home, you plug it in the Type 2 charger on one side, there's a special cable adapter, and you plug it into your regular socket at home. And this is your charging status if anything is charging. Okay, so we don't have a working charger, but we have about 94% of charge left, so we can try and do this anyway. Now, I prepared a loop around Warsaw, and this loop is about 160 kilometers long. Sorry, this car just keeps making noises, beeping at me. I have a camera car in the back there, so the camera car will be close, so there will be a lot of beeping while filming. Anyway, so this loop is about 160 kilometers. There is about 60 kilometers motorway, about 40-50 kilometers on sort of B roads, and then another how many kilometers on a dual carriageway. So we will be driving considerably faster than before. I will do two loops with the camera car present during one of them, and I will be doing more realistic speeds as you suggested. So I will report every now and then and tell you how things are going. I reset everything before I left the parking lot with a dysfunctional charger, non-functional charger, and yeah, fingers crossed. A quick update, there is a lot of traffic today, so I'm unable to drive with the full speed all the time, and it is also quite windy. However, it's not very sunny, so it's about 20 degrees, 21 degrees outside right now. My AC is set to 19.5, so it is working. An interesting little detail here, I found this kind of energy meter which is showing that 96% of energy consumption is by the drivetrain, about 1% by AC and 3% by all other electronics. However, driving fast, the car is using 18.6 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, so by advanced mathematics, it is highly unlikely I will be able to even attempt the second loop, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'm approaching my exit from the motorway. The first time I'm going to do it. Hopefully I'm going to do it the second time as well. I'm driving about 140 kilometers per hour, which is the full top legal speed in Poland on the motorway. There is a bit less traffic, so I can open the battery, the taps, whatever on this thing. And yeah, my energy use is now 19.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, but my range is still above 300 kilometers, so I should make the 2 loops without much of a problem. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, there is a lot of wind noise and a lot of wind in general. I can hear a lot of wind, but sound insulation in this car is not brilliant. Kona EV is, after all, more of a city car than anything else. But, you know, I'm driving as fast as it is legally possible, so we'll see. I'm off the motorway, driving through the city of, or rather around the city of Sochaczew, going towards Wyszogród, oh yes, and Płońsk, oh my god. The names of Polish cities, all the vowels and consonants mixed together, not very easy for you guys out there to say. Anyway, my energy use is down to 17 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is a good thing. It looks like we're using about as many kilometers of the range as we're actually driving, so I think we can safely assume it will do the 2 loops and hopefully we'll have some reserve left. We'll see how it is in real life. It's windy, the AC is on, and let's see what's my percentage of energy use. I've got 76% of battery left, and about 300 kilometers range, 295 to be exact, and 94% of my energy used during this trip is the drivetrain. 1% is AC, so AC uses almost nothing. This is a heat pump, by the way. This car has a heat pump, and then there is 5% is used by all the electronics. So this is what it looks like, more or less. There is also something about battery conditioning, but there is no battery conditioning at the moment, so that's 0%. Talk to you soon. Energy use down to 15.4 kilowatt hours, range 274, so 2 loops are well within reach, and there is still going to be a sort of hefty reserve, but no third loop, obviously. Maybe if I was charged to full, maybe I could attempt it, but in this situation, no. Even driving according to the speed limit, or even slightly above it, I'm being overtaken every once in a while by very impatient people who think that driving according to the speed limit is inappropriate. And in Poland, unfortunately, it is. Silly us. Anyway, this is... that guy wasn't driving remotely close to the speed limit. So I'm back on the faster road now. This is a dual carriageway where I can drive with speeds of up to 120 kilometers per hour. My my energy consumption was 14.8, I think, just a minute ago, but it's increasing, obviously, as I'm speeding up. My average speed so far was about 73 kilometers per hour, which again is not much faster than what I had when I was driving below the speed limit. So driving according to the speed limit, or even slightly above it, that's my camera crew right there, even driving slightly above the speed limit doesn't warrant a much higher average speed, because, well,
you have to slow down here and there, and there were some road works and there was traffic, so it is what it is. Okay, so I'm approaching the end of my first loop. My average speed is about 75 kilometers per hour. I have 230 kilometers range, and I used about 35 percentage points of the battery. The battery left is 59%. So I'm leaving my film crew here because they don't need to film this the second time round, and now I'm flying solo. I'm back on the motorway, this time without the film crew because, come on, I don't need them to do a second loop with me. By the way, I would really appreciate if you give some love to my friend Arek Torski of Torski Films and Anna Gidyńska of Jest Pięknie. She's my partner, girlfriend, and Arek was filming all the nice shots that you see here in the cutaways, and Anna was driving wantonly in order for Arek to be able to film me while driving on the motorway, and etc, etc. They're linked below this video and also at the end of this video, so visit their channels, hit like, subscribe and all that. Anyway, back to me driving on the motorway, the Kona EV. Let's talk about the pricing. The pricing, it starts in Germany at 38,000 euro for the style model, and this is the German premium for about 46,000. It doesn't have leather and ventilated seats, but it has heated seats. The lower trims, they may not have all the cool stuff like intelligent cruise control, electric seats, parking sensors, HUD and an armrest in the back. They may not have that. Also, the heat pump, they may not have the heat pump, but check on your local market how's the specification. HUD, I really like that this car has HUD because the speed limit is displayed on the HUD, so I can use Android Auto if I wanted to, and I would still see the speed limit, despite this one actually having speed limits on the virtual instrument cluster. I don't like this one. I like the one in Kia more, the Kia e-Niro, because over there, when you use the regenerative braking, you would see how much you actually regenerated. And you can't see that. You can't see that here. So there is kind of less kind of gamification in the Hyundai. Hyundai, for some reason, decided to use the most hard plastics all over the place, which is not a problem not that much of a problem in an internal combustion engine car, but in an electric car, which is usually quiet, except on the motorway. This one is terribly loud on the motorway. There's a lot of wind noise. You hear all sorts of things, you know, kind of rattling and scratching, and it's just annoying. So Kia uses softer touch materials, and it's just more quiet inside than here. There are two versions, right? So there is the 39 kilowatt hours version, which does about 300 kilometers, less than that, 289 I think to be exact, and this one, which should do about 450, and it's pretty much the same drivetrain like in the Kia e-Niro. So I guess 450 is well within reach. As far as this car being different from a regular Kona, there is a big plastic panel instead of where the grille would usually be, and that I'm sure improves aerodynamics ever so slightly. The bumpers are slightly different, optimized for aerodynamics. There are aerodynamic wheel covers, hubs, whatever, and that's pretty much it. There is multi-link suspension in the back here, like in the 1.6 turbo version, and right, there's this sort of floating console here, and there are like too many buttons. In the Kia, there is a rotary gear or direction selector, and here there are buttons for that, which I don't really like, and there are buttons down here. So for example, the drive mode button, which you won't really use much, but still, it's between the heated seats and the heated steering wheel. Who put it there and why? is a mystery to me. Also, I don't like the fact that to get from, let's say, comfort to eco or comfort to sport, you have to cycle through all the modes instead of just pressing up and down like maybe in a BMW or an Audi or something. The weight, this thing weighs almost 1700 kilograms, which is 280 kilograms heavier than the 1.6 turbo, but it's also marginally faster than the 1.6 turbo. The driving, the handling, it's not particularly engaging, but I like to sort of challenge myself to get the best results possible. This one has 204 horsepower and almost 400 newton meters of torque, so it goes like stink when you need to overtake, for example. Charging time. Now Hyundai says this thing will charge to 80% in 75 minutes instead of whatever 40-45 like the Kia. Hyundai was unable to tell me exactly why they provide this data in the catalog. They just don't really know, because the guy whom I spoke to said, hey, this should be like Kia, so I don't know why. They checked, and I sort of have an unofficial suspicion that it may have to do with battery conditioning, but then why doesn't Kia have the same thing with battery conditioning? I don't know. Okay, I think I exhausted the main differences, and now I can continue driving for another an hour and a half, I guess. My average speed after the motorway section is probably around 80 kilometers per hour. Now it's gonna go down, obviously, because I'm going on country roads, and I will be going slightly slower. As you may see in the front camera, I have encountered rain, and this means that the wipers are on and the heating is on. Because I was so cold air conditioning myself, I turned the heating up. So the air conditioning, or heating in this case, still uses only 1% of energy, and all the electronics still use about 2% of all the energy. So don't worry about driving with the radio on, or with a with a heater, or with the lights on, or with the wipers on. This is all calculated in the standard use, okay? So don't worry about that. This car will not stop in the middle of nowhere just because you had your headlights on. Just plan where the next charger is and you'll be fine. Okay, so I have reached a charger, not the charger that I thought I'm gonna start and end with. So the cutaway is just there for continuity or dramatic effect. I'm at a different charger a few kilometers away, and I still have about 22 minutes left to 80%. So it would take me about an hour standing here to charge from 20%, which I had at the end of the journey, to 80%. Now, I decided to make this kind of mental exercise. I had the final range was about 77, 80 kilometers or so. So in order to make another loop, I would need another 100 kilometers. So I decided that in order to drive for another 100 kilometers and have a safe range, I would need to recharge about 15 kilowatt hours. And 15 kilowatt hours on this charger here took 20 minutes exactly. So it would take, if you need to get back another 100 kilometers or so, it takes about 20 minutes, depending on a charger. This charger charges at a speed of about 40 kilowatts per hour, I think. And so that's not the fastest. This car can take much higher, whatever. It can take more energy. It can take more energy than this charger has to offer. However, it's free, so I'm not gonna complain. Now, a brief summary of the results I have achieved, and wakey, I took pictures to make it easier. So we had, the final range was 77 kilometers, and the battery charge went from about 95% to 19%. And the total trip was 319 kilometers, and I used 14.8 kilowatt hours. The total time was 4 hours and 10 minutes, which gives us an average speed of 77 kilometers per hour, which, bearing in mind that I was driving up to the speed limit and maybe slightly faster here and there, this is what you're gonna get. On my Kia e-Niro trip from Warsaw to Zakopane, I was driving below the speed limit ever so slightly, and I achieved 70 kilometers per hour dead. So if I adhered religiously to the speed limit, I would probably have about 75 kilometers per hour, the average speed. So you can drive a lot further driving just a bit slower. So that's the takeaway from that. Okay, enough talking for now. I will review this whole thing, and then I'll probably give you another sum up and my thoughts on what transpired from this video. To sum up, driving according to the speed limit, I still used 14.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is less than Hyundai's 15.4 kilowatt hour estimate. That's assuming I'm not driving 140 all the time, which happens to be the top legal speed limit on Polish motorways, because then my range would drop from 450 to about 300. That's still a decent range, taking speed into account. The problem may be related to infrastructure. Although finding a charger along main transport corridors and in large cities in Poland is not a problem, the charger output is usually less than what modern EVs can take in, and that slows you down more than range. Thanks to the heat pump this Kona Electric had on board, climate control used very little energy. It was still warm because I'm filming this in the middle of the summer, but I have several EV tests lined up for autumn and winter, so we'll see how these cars get on in lower temperatures. If you're interested in EVs and you think fully charged are not doing enough, please consider subscribing to my channel as well and hit that bell icon to get notifications every time I post. Also, check out Instagram and YouTube channels of Arek and Anna, who helped me film this review. Links in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.